Hey guys, welcome to Celia's Playlist. I am so excited for today's guest. I am here with Natica, a multi hyphenate artist from Manhattan. How are you doing today? Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Of course, I'm so excited. I think that I'm excited because I remember when I was doing my playlist stuff, you started doing voice notes on
Oh,
some of my posts. I was like, this person is so smart. I am so excited. And then when I saw your name pop up on my list for today, I was like, yes, let's go. It's been a hot second since then, but would you uh would you tell us, the audience, myself, a little bit about you and a little bit about the music that you create?
thank you. Totally. I'm Natica. I live in Manhattan, but I'm from Queens, and I write songs. I have an EP out, and I sing with another band called Milagro Verde. I'm going all over the place. So I write like music in English and Spanish. It's like pop, a little rock, a little R&B, kind of all over the place. Because of all the sounds I grew up listening to here in New York City. And then also aside from that project, I sing in a cumbia band, Milagro Verde, and we're a Brooklyn-based band. We just had our tour, like our first ever tour as a band, out in the West Coast, which was a lot of fun. So it's really cool to be singing in two bands. And I also work as an audio engineer. I work from home, editing audio for podcasts and a little sound design here and there. So I've been doing a lot of stuff, mostly sound based. And then I'm also a freelance musician. I'll sing choral gigs. Sometimes I'll sing at a church. Throw any music in front of me, like sheet music, and depending on the skill, I might be able to wing it day of, or sometimes I need a little more prep time. But yeah, that's what I do.
I already have so many questions. I I I feel you on the wearing many hats aspect because once you're in like a medium like visuals or audio, like there's so many different avenues that you can go down, and it's cool to hear that you are down a couple of them.
Yeah. Sorry, I
So
got a message from work. But
all
yeah.
good, all good. So how I want to start with I know that you said that you write music in both English and Spanish.
Yes.
Is there like a different approach to writing in English versus writing in Spanish?
Okay. So I would say that writing in English is something that comes to me more naturally because I've I've always written in English, like journaling. So I'm more comfortable with English. With Spanish is something that I'm working more on because it's really important to work that side of your brain if you're bilingual or multilingual, to just be constantly using all the languages. And like um yeah, so I'm more comfortable writing in English, but I'm working on the Spanish part.
I like that you're pushing yourself. That's like a cool thing because I have a little tangent story. I don't know where you are from in Queens, but I went on an accidental adventure in Queens because I had the wrong day of tickets for Gov Ball. So I was dressed up, full Chapel Roan outfit, and then got lost in the public transit around Queens. So I ended up in Flushing. I ended up in some like very Puerto Rican neighborhood. I ended up in all these different places in a complete like Chapel Roan outfit. So I
Okay.
so I got to see so many different areas, and I know that there's areas that are very cultural. So it's really cool that you're able to kind of like with the English and Spanish with the music, but also take a lot of the influences around you from being in New York
Yeah.
to work that into the things that you're doing. And I used to freelance in Manhattan, so I know like you could walk like 10 minutes down the street and be in like three different, really, really different places. So
Yes.
how has growing as an artist in that kind of I guess, like big cauldron of like influence influenced your music?
Man, it's such a loaded question because no, I mean, not bad at
It's a
all.
big question.
It's definitely a big question because it's like I feel like I've taken it for granted. You know, not everyone lived like this. Like I grew up in Woodside, Sunnyside. I spent a lot of my formative years in that area, as well as Astoria and Jackson Heights and Maspeth sometimes. Um, in college, I went to Queens College in Flushing, so I'm very familiar with the commute you're talking about. Um, and yeah, it's incredible, and a lot of it has to do with my family. um my entry point into music was my sister. And the way that it worked in the family was she learned the joke is she learned to sing before she could learn to speak. And she's a year older than me, so basically she loved to sing and dance and like move around, and then I naturally kind of just went along with her flow. Also older sisters to younger sisters. I don't know if you have any siblings, but you do? Are you the older?
I'm the older sister.
Okay, so you've probably like bartered your siblings into doing stuff with you, or like I don't know.
I mean, I try and have them do stuff with me. My sister just came and did a photo shoot with me, and then I took pictures of her at the gym. So, I mean, we
I
do
love
some stuff
that.
together.
My sister's also a photographer, so I've been her muse. But basically, like I went along with my sister's flow, and just like being around family members that just like love to listen to salsa or cumbia or any other kind of like Latin American music. So that was my entry point into that, and then also dancing, just like dancing at
Oh,
family parties.
I feel that.
Yeah. And then in I grew up singing a lot in church when I was a kid and even into my teenage years. So I had like some experience there, and then I studied music in high school. I went to LaGuardia High School in Manhattan, and then that's where I got like a formative musical training, learning how to read music, singing in choir, and then uh, I also attended a songwriting class. It wasn't really songwriting, but it basically facilitated the space for you to write songs and collaborate with classmates and either write songs together or perform them together. It was really cool. And it was like during that time where I learned a lot about other kinds of music. I learned about jazz. I learned more about musical theater and opera. And yeah, just like being in New York City, man, like there's just so much great stuff out here. I really take it for granted. And I try to remind myself that I'm incredibly privileged to be in such a cultured city.
I feel that. And I as you're saying these things, my brain is just like from me driving around. I'm like, "Oh, I know where that is. I know where that is." Isn't LaGuardia also like an art school
Yes.
or something?
Um, just to note that there's two
Yeah.
LaGuardias. There's LaGuardia Community College in Queens, which I'd always get asked when I was in high school. And I'm like, no, no, no. LaGuardia High School, it's like right by Lincoln Center, behind Juilliard and the Metropolitan Opera.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's why I was like, I'm pretty sure that's an art school. Like I'm pretty
Yes.
like, huh? Because also there's the one that you can actually drive past. That's the
I mean, you can drive past LaGuardia High School if you go down Amsterdam Avenue. So,
true, very true. Um, but yeah, no, I feel like very similar because I actually went into the city recently. My friend Chris was like, I have extra tickets to come see this show. Are you gonna come? And I was like, yeah, I'll be there. And then like it's a commute, but like, you know,
yes.
walking around, you see all the different kinds of people. I used to work specifically in Times Square. Like I that was a don't it's I don't recommend that. But I used to work at what used to be a Viacom. So
Oh,
I actually was in the Times Square building and I would have to like go there every day, but like every day if you go to outside into Times Square like 2 hours apart, it's a whole different Times Square. You know what I mean? There's
yes.
different people, different place, like not places, but like it's the same place. But it's a different vibe and it could be any street that'll change in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, and just seeing how Times Square has changed over the years, like I've seen Times Square in so many iterations. It still sucks though.
I mean, it's the biggest tourist area in the city, and it is like a cool spot, but like there are so many other really interesting places. I actually my preference is walking around like the Lower East Side. I don't know if do you have a place in the city that like kind of like just like vibes for you?
Anywhere along the Hudson River.
Mm, I love that. Good choice, good choice.
I just love being
So
by the water. Yeah.
I just love walking around and seeing the old buildings and all of the places like that because I actually was the local shooter for Yelp and Groupon.
Oh
Haha, yes.
wow.
So I would walk around with a backpack on, a tripod like slung across me, and like I would walk all around Manhattan and I would get to see all of these different restaurants and like they would always feed me. That's the important piece of the story. They would always feed me, but like
Sign
I'll
me
be
up.
walking I don't even know if they're doing it anymore, but like essentially I would be like given an address and then I would show up and I would find the coolest places in Manhattan because like, when you're walking around on the street, you could be in an area and know nothing about what's inside the buildings. But once you get inside the buildings, you would see like crazy displays or like you would be in like something that was very specialized like a seamstress's office or like something
Yeah.
like that because in Manhattan like everyone can really specialize in whatever they're doing because there's so much going on and people need very specific skills, which
Yes.
actually kind of like circles back because I know you're also an audio engineer and I know that that's also something that a lot of people move to Manhattan for because like it's a very needed skill. So like tell me a little bit about how you got into engineering because engineering is a different skill set than actually like writing and recording music. Well,
Yeah.
it is recording music, but it's from the other side of the equation.
Yeah, yeah, I totally get it. Um, so I've always had an interest in engineering or had an interest in recording.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it has a lot to do with my dad taking home videos of us a lot and like having the cassettes in the house and like I used to record myself in cassettes either like recording songs or I'm like recording a song off of like a radio station if I wanted to keep that song. This predates LimeWire. um
I actually, fun fact, I went to Savers and I found a Walkman. So if you have any of those, no kidding,
I
just kidding.
don't.
But no, I got a Walkman. I was like, I'm gonna use this for something, and it's still sitting in my studio. So at some point, I will Walkman.
You'll I love that. So I later on when I got my first computer, stuff like that, I started dabbling in just like doing recording demos for myself. I once recorded a friend's pre-screening, which for those who don't know are people who are submitting an audition for like a school or a program or something. And she asked me to record for her and the pianist who she hired to play for her pre-screening. And that was probably like my first ever gig as an engineer. This was like 10 years ago or 12 years ago. But anyway, all I did was like set up a mic in the room because it didn't need all the bells and whistles. And I didn't know how to do all that stuff anyway at that time. And I recorded her and it sounded great. And then I accidentally deleted it.
Oh no!
Rookie mistakes so bad. And like
but
luckily
but you
enough,
learned.
I
You learned
learned.
though.
Yes, you need to back up your stuff. Command save for Mac and then I forget the Windows command, but you'll probably
Same
for
thing.
those PC
Same
users,
same.
you'll know. Yeah, okay. But yeah, I learned a lesson. She re-recorded it and then she actually got into the program. So uh, I'm glad that worked out for me. So yeah, that happened. In college, I took some recording classes. It was like an intro to recording, and then I took another class that was like a MIDI sequencing class. So basically, working with MIDI enabled instruments, so like virtual instruments and stuff. And then with that skill, I was able to do more like pre production for my stuff. And I would record my songs and I like if I knew what kind of chords I wanted or like certain rhythmic elements, I knew how to like put that in the computer and then tweak it and all that stuff. And then what really like catapulted me to where I am today, work wise, was in 2020, you know, the very obvious thing happened.
What happens in okay. I
um, and I didn't have any work. I was on unemployment. I couldn't perform anywhere. I did like a couple of Instagram lives where I like performed and trying to figure out that setup with connecting the mic directly to my phone and stuff was like tricky, but I wanted to make sure that people had like the best quality audio. And here in my apartment is a home studio. I don't know if you noticed the bass behind me. I have a partner. His name is Dylan Kamiko, amazing bass player, audio engineer. He taught me a lot. And being in this space facilitated me to record more and like have that creative output. So we're here in the control room, and there's our living room. We call it the live room because it's more outfitted for recording and for rehearsing and stuff. So I would be recording in that room. Um, I had a lot of song ideas. There was nothing to do during that time, and I just recorded myself, you know? And then eventually, I was thinking, I'm like, I would love to go into voice acting. I've always been told that I have a radio voice, that my voice is like great for enunciating. I've been asked if I like have ever done Broadway and blah blah blah, whatever. Um, and the opportunity popped up for me. So someone, actually my sister, she asked me if I was interested in doing voiceover, and basically a friend of a friend needed someone. So I sent my material that they asked for, and they were like, "Oh, just send us samples of your work." And I realized that I had no samples of my work because I had never done anything like this before. So I just like looked online for demo scripts that were like in the public domain, and I did like 3 different samples to show my range. um, I recorded a script of me reading I'm trying to remember. It was a tutorial for like a job, so like a job training thing,
mhm.
an excerpt from a novel that's in the public domain, and then an excerpt for a trailer narration for some like docu series about finance. So anyway, I sent those. They interviewed me. They asked me um what experience do I have in that, and I thought in my head, I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, I don't get the job. And I just told them, oh, I recorded it last night. And they're basically like, you're hired.
I love that. I
Yeah.
actually like now that I'm thinking back, you're like unlocking things in my brain. I actually like have a lot of experience in like corporate because I did all of those like Yelp videos and things like that, and people don't realize that like voiceover is definitely an option. And like you saying this, I'm just like, wait, I should find my old voiceover samples. Like maybe I should be doing voiceover because I like have had to help people figure out essentially how to say everything for the voiceovers for all of their videos for years. So like I would help them with everything from diction and like how to actually sound professional, and also you know this, the voiceover, like you have this very plain accent sometimes when you're trying to talk like this and blah blah blah, that is very not specific to any place in the country, and like it sounds like a news voice. So like there's
Yeah.
different ways that you can approach it, and it is a viable way to make money and a viable way to like get yourself out there in a more commercial sense, uh, because sometimes it's like easier to get that kind of work than it is to get like music work. And during 2020 I was doing basically something similar to this whole podcast, and I decided to like post like an influencer and see what happens, and that's how I got here.
I love that. Yeah. It's like you find the opportunities and the like I was going through, I mean, we were all going through such a difficult time. And I had this like, my mentality sort of shifted from like, woe is me to like, I need to go for what I want or else I'm never going to do it, you know? And if something scares you, just do it, you know? Like you can always say no. You can always back out of something if you're not feeling it. And I think it's the kind of thing that comes with experiencing it. It's a lot easier said than done. And I ended up getting that job, and I worked that job for like a year and a half. Uh, I realized that it was much more than voiceover. I was doing voiceover. I was editing a script. I was recording myself. I was editing myself. I composed the theme music. I did a little mixing. Like I was wearing so many hats. And I also understood that because it was kind of unclear what my job role was, and I knew that I probably should have gotten paid better for it. I saw it as my foot in the door. And when we finally started publishing episodes, because we were developing the show for like a whole month remotely, and then finally, when I posted the show on all my social media platforms and like sharing and stuff, um, I got the attention of some of my friends who I went to college with and people who just had me in mind. All of a sudden, I was being referred to as the podcast queen amongst my friends, which was hilarious. And yeah, and then eventually I got a job offer to be an assistant audio editor for a post production company. And then eventually I left the other podcasting job and I started working with them. And I've been working with them full time ever since. So, and I've learned so much at that job, and it's all
I love
remote. Yeah.
I love to hear this because I had a bunch of jobs like that at the beginning. Like I mentioned, I worked at Viacom, I worked at Yelp, I worked for a couple of TV production companies and stuff. And like, yeah, like, should I have been paid better for some of those? Yeah, because I was doing everyone above me's work because, like, when the person that's the lowest person on the totem pole finishes their work, you know exactly what happens. The person above them says, "Well, do this. Well, do that."
Yeah.
But that's where you learn all of those really valuable skills. And
Yes.
that's where you're able to essentially learn and like I hate to say test things, but test things on something that is like lower stakes because
Yeah.
it is someone else giving you work and then like you're completing it, but like let me try this today. Let me try that today.
Yeah,
And like
exactly.
and then that's where you learn what works and doesn't work because when I started going and doing my own thing with freelance, I already had like this very very like sturdy foundation to start on because I had a job that I needed to learn my way through.
Yeah.
So it's cool that you also had a similar experience.
Yeah, and I was doing that while juggling a bunch of other jobs. So I had the that podcasting job weekdays in the morning, and then I also was working at a church as a music director, so I was directing choirs. And
That's cool.
when like things started opening up again, like I had to return to that job, and then I had to get the choirs back again, and I was also teaching kids, so I worked remotely, and then I also worked like it was like a hybrid format. Eventually I had to commute to the school where I was working at. I also had private students. I was all over the place. My schedule was jam packed, and I had been working like this even through the pandemic for probably a good 10 years. It
Mhm.
was a lot of work, but like, and it's not something I would recommend, but if you're
I,
working towards a goal, um then you have to earn it. You sort of have to like earn that experience till you get to the point where you're like, I know my worth. I'm not doing this anymore. Or like, I'll do this if you pay me this.
I actually just posted something on my Instagram and I'm going to read it out loud because I think that it goes with this. It's
Okay.
on my story right now. It says, if you want to have a life that's worth living, a life that expresses your deepest feelings, emotions, and cares and dreams, you have to fight for it.
Totally.
And that's kind of like what we're talking about because I also had that 10 years of like busting my ass to get to where I am right now. And people don't look at the past 10 years. They just look at where you're at now. And
Yeah.
they're like, you're doing the thing, but like they don't realize all of the grind time.
Yes. Yeah. It takes a lot. And I I experienced burnout so many times, and I probably think I have ADHD, and I'm looking into that. So
I'm
that's
pretty sure
probably
that our entire industry is just filled with people with ADHD.
yeah. So I've been now that I'm in my early 30s, I look back at what I did and I'm like, how did I do all of that? And it's just insane. I could never like now I won't do anything like that again.
Mm-hmm. Me too, because I kind of looked back, and I didn't even look back fully. I looked back like 2020 to now. Like,
Yeah.
and I was like, how did I balance that many projects? That was not good for my mental health. And then like I also looked back and I was like, my nervous system must have been like flashing lights just everywhere like for just years. And like you get into that fight or flight and you just keep going, and
Oh
like
my
the only way
god.
that I got anything done was overpacking my schedule because I had to get it done.
Oh my god, you are describing me to a T. Like, I look back at all of the times I had this crippling anxiety and just thinking about how anxiety robbed me of the ability to just enjoy it. Just enjoy the
Yes.
journey. Because you're doing
Mm-hmm.
such cool stuff and like your brain will convince you that you're going to make the worst mistake of your life and that you're going to ruin your life.
Someone that understands. I'm like finally I'm coming out of that, but also at the same time like I had to remove a lot of things to get to the point where I can like be like self-aware enough to be like this isn't good for me. I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't work on these kinds of jobs. It took me getting injured at 3 different weddings for me to stop doing
What?
weddings.
Not one, not two, but three.
Yeah, I got the last one was I got elbowed in the head on the dance floor and I got a concussion. And it was a sub gig. It was a subcontract gig. So I was just like,
You couldn't
I'm
even
not
like
doing
claim
this
workers'
anymore.
comp.
Not really. So that it's one of those things where you need to like take a second and be like, all right, well, what do I want to be doing? Where do I want to go? And what am I even doing right now? And like you if you're in that grind of like go 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 go, it really keeps you there. And like my biggest thing right now is like I keep learning the lesson of just send it to the editor. Send it to your editor, because I keep getting like stuck in that feeling because of like the amount of inquiries and projects that I am still doing. So
Yeah.
I'm still trying to find that balance, but I'm way closer now, and I hope that like the balance is way closer for you too.
Yeah, I'm learning that just because I can do something doesn't mean that I have to do it. Sometimes it's better to just delegate it.
100%. And like I was doing that for a while, but then like I built my company up to a point where I had about 6 people regularly going out weekly, like between the years of 2020 and 2022. And then I took a big backseat because I was like, I don't want to be this corporate mogul. Like I don't want to be like sitting here just doing like live streams of conferences. I loved learning at them, but like
Yeah.
I don't this isn't what I want to do. I want to do fun artistic projects, and I want to do like things with music because like I don't know if you would believe me, but I really like music. Would you believe that? So
It's
like,
very evident.
I don't know. But it like took a lot to like make those changes, and a lot of people are afraid to make those changes. Going from something that's like, I mean, I wasn't doing a 9 to 5, but like something that's like a corporate side of something, and making the conscious choice to go more towards the arts.
Yeah, it's a tough call. I have to say that um I was for like a good 10 years, all of my work was arts related. Everything I did.
Hmm.
Even if it wasn't like, oh, full-time being a singer-songwriter, which I'm still not there yet. Um and it was hard because I was a music teacher, a teaching artist. So I was doing music and I was working with children like elementary school aged. And then I was working as a music director at a church. So I was doing that and then also giving private voice lessons. And while I was doing all of that, I was also writing my own songs and then I would go to jam sessions, and I sometimes would take voice lessons as well, because there was a time where I kept losing my voice because I wasn't using it properly. And it took a while, and it's still a grind, but I'm in a much better place creatively than I was before. And it's hard. It's hard when people just don't understand that you're doing all these things and you're not working a corporate 9 to 5. And the people that I do know that work a 9 to 5 and are creatives, it's hard for them too because they want to make that jump, but they don't want to mess up their whole like finances and stuff by doing that changeover, because it's tough, and there's no one way to do it.
Yeah, I've helped a lot of people make that jump because they were working something that was not conducive to them being able to gig. And that's the biggest thing. The thing that I always tell people is the way that I explain it is like, if you're doing that corporate job, it's allowing you to keep all of your creativity for your art, because you're not using your creativity towards art. And that was a big
Mm.
thing for me. And for me, I wasn't getting my own creative expression because I was dealing with everyone else's creative expression. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So like it's all about balance. And like if you're able to like make that jump and do your art full time, fuck yeah, go do it. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Hell
But
yeah.
finding a job, and I say job versus career, finding a job that is going to keep you lit creatively, like, is an important piece of the puzzle, if that makes
Yes.
sense. So
Yeah.
that's kind of like how I explain it, because you have that job, but then you have your career, which is the thing that you want to do.
Yeah. um at my day job, I make a lot of creative choices when I'm working. So it's really cool to see how I can implement those skills in that. And then I'm still making my music outside of that. I'm still performing outside of work. And I just love that I can balance that. And sometimes it's a lot of like making sure that everyone is on the same page schedule wise. But I've worked out a system, and like I've had other people be like, "Yo, your schedule is like kind of nuts." And I'm just like, "Yeah, but I kind of like it like this, you know?"
I totally get that. I'm going to cut us off for the last question because I could talk to you all day.
I
Like we
know, same.
I'm like, I get you. I
We need a
understand. I
part
was like,
2.
wait. We'll have to continue this.
Yeah.
But the question that I ask everyone, and we didn't even get into some of the other topics. Like we hit like some actually really important topics though, I feel like,
Yeah.
because this is a lot of stuff that people don't hear. You know what I mean? But the last question I have for you is, if, and you could take this whatever direction, if someone was going to start their music journey today, what would be your advice to them?
um if you're really serious about it, you need to play the long game.
Yes. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I love that. I
Yeah.
always say the long game. Because like even what I do, I've been creating since I was like in 7th grade.
Yeah.
It takes a while. And
Yeah.
if you don't play the long game, the music industry and the online industry is legitimately the long game.
Yeah.
Like if you don't play the long game, like, you know, the people that get respect in like at least the Long Island music scene, because that's my scene, are
Mhm.
the people that have been doing it for 10 years, and then they show up and everyone's like, ooh, this person, that person, like, oh my god, like this person's here. But that's because they have 10 years of legacy behind them to have that.
Literally, literally. And like I see how I've built my networks, and depending on when I started those specific scenes, I've earned the time, I've earned my dues enough to be like, okay, I just get a call for a gig because I worked my way in there. And like as I wanted to be a songwriter ever since I was 14. And uh and like I've been doing all of these things musically, artistically, creatively, while I'm still doing my songwriting stuff as well. And it's stayed constant. Everything else has changed, but like this has been constant for me. And I would love to get to a point eventually where I can just be like making money off of my music and performing and touring and all that stuff. But I'm still playing the long game, and I'm here for the ride.
Hell yeah. I'm so glad that we had this conversation. I told you that I would warm up after the first couple of minutes, and that my brain was not working today.
It's
But
okay.
what if people want to follow you or collaborate with you? How can they find you and get a hold of you?
Okay, so I'm on all social media platforms as Natica Music, Natica Music. If you want to reach out to me, email me at musicanatica@gmail.com. I have my email in all of my social media bios. Um, Hit me up on Threads. That's how you and I
Yes.
came to meet. I'm very active on Threads. I'm very active on Instagram. I'm trying to do more of the TikTok thing. Uh, but
It's
yeah,
just so much cross posting. It's just so much.
yeah, and making sure the watermarks are not on the cross posts. So
Yep. I feel you. We speak the same language. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out today. Like, I don't know about you, but I feel great after this conversation.
I'm so
I
glad.
feel very heard and understood. I was like, "Wait, this is what we're talking about." Amazing. So, thanks for hanging out with me, and to everyone at home, make sure that you're following Natika, and I will see you on the next episode. Bye, guys.
Bye.